So we completed Bhakti Yoga chapter 12, which discussed the merits of Saguna and Nirguna Upasana and also outlined the various spiritual practices that can help one in the goal of reaching the Supreme. So next we move to chapter 13, Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, the yoga of discrimination between Kshetra, the field, that is the physical body, and Kshetrajna, the knower of Kshetra, the physical body. So chapter 13 also covers the subject of Prakriti and Purusha, matter and spirit, together with knowledge. So let us move to the first shloka of chapter 13. Arjuna uvacha prakritim purusham chaiva kshetram kshetrajnameva cha etadveditumichami jnanam jneyam cha Keshava. So Arjuna tells Krishna, Keshava etat veditum ichchami. O Keshava, I wish to learn. Veditum ichchami, I wish to learn. Wish to learn what? Prakritim purusham cha eva kshetram kshetrajnam eva cha. So Arjuna tells that he wishes to know, he wishes to learn about Prakriti and Purusha and Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So Kshetra is the field or the body and Kshetrajna is the knower of the field. Jnanam jneyam cha. No, I also wish to know about knowledge and jneyam, all that which is to be known. So chapter 13, Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yogam, begins with Arjuna telling Lord that he wishes to understand the difference between Kshetra, the field, the body and the material world, and Kshetrajna, the knower of the field. He also wishes to know about Prakriti and Purusha, and he also wishes to know about the knowledge and all that which is to be known. So the last I recollect that the 1 to 6 chapters, that is the first division, was Karma Yoga section. The 7 to 12, second division, was of course Bhakti Yoga that we covered, and the last one, 13 to 18, is the Jnana Yoga. Shri Bhagavanuvacha idam shariram kaunteya kshetramithya etadyo vetti tam prahuhu kshetrajna iti tadvidha. So Bhagavanuvacha, Lord Krishna spoke, Kaunteya, O Arjuna, idam shariram kshetram iti abhidhiyate. So this shariram, this body is called Kshetram, the field. Etat yaha veti, he who knows that Kshetram. Kshetrajna iti tadvidaha prahuhu. So tadvidaha is Tattvajnani, the knowledgeable sages. They refer to the knowers of Kshetra, that is the knowers of the physical body, as Kshetrajnaha, that is the knower of the field. So in response to Arjuna's question, Lord Krishna clarifies that the physical body is called Kshetra, and he who knows this, he who understands the physical body and the various constituents of the physical body, the characteristics of the physical body, he is called Kshetrajna. As ordinary beings, we all know the physical body, the thoughts, the physical experiences. In all of us, Lord Krishna resides as the Paramatma in our hearts, as the universal witness. So when this realization happens in us, the gap between the individual consciousness and the infinite reality disappears, and one becomes the knower of the Kshetra, that is the Kshetrajna. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarvakshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetrajna yor jnanam yatta jnanam matam mama. Bharata sarvakshetreshu kshetrajna api mam api. So mam api vitti. So Lord Krishna tells that Bharata, O Arjuna, know me as the Kshetrajna. Kshetrajna, the knower of the field of activity in all Kshetra. So Lord Krishna tells Arjuna that know me as the Kshetrajna, knower of the field of activity in all the physical bodies. Cha Kshetra Kshetrajnayoho yat jnanam. So the knowledge of the field of activity and the knower of the field, tat jnanam mama matam. So in my view, the knowledge of the Kshetra and Kshetrajna is true knowledge. So, in this sloka, Lord states that he is in fact the Kshetrajna, which pervades all the Jivatmas. So the Supreme Lord is a knower of all Kshetra in all the physical bodies, both individually and collectively. So Lord is present as the knower of the fields in all the hearts as Paramatma. Lord further states that the knowledge that differentiates the Kshetra from the Kshetrajna is true knowledge that leads to moksha or liberation from the cycle of birth and death. So it goes without saying that any other knowledge is inferior to this, as it only keeps us tied in the bondage.
Tatshetram yaccha yadrikcha yadvikari yatascha yat sachayo yat prabhavascha tat samasena me shrunu.
Tat kshetram yat. What is that field? Cha yadrik. What is its nature? Cha yad vikari cha yataha yat. So what are its transformations? That is, what modifications does it go through? And yataha yat. How does it come about? How does it originate? Cha saha yaha. Who here yaha refers to Kshetrajna. Who is the knower of this field? Who is Kshetrajna? Yat prabhavaha tat samasena me shrunu. So yat prabhavaha. So what are his powers? What are the powers of Kshetrajna? Tat samasena me shrunu. Listen and know from me all this. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna makes a promise to briefly describe the field, that is the Kshetra, its nature, its modifications, its origin, its true identity, and the powers of the knower, that is the Kshetrajna. So a descriptive summary would be given by Lord Krishna, and it is going to include the entirety of the material nature of the spiritual body, the field of activity, the spiritual principles that govern it. And Lord Krishna is also going to talk about what and why have we come into physical existence, what is the source of our conscious energy. So by understanding all this, what Lord Krishna is going to tell us, a spiritual speaker can live his life with clarity and purpose.
Rishibir bahudha ghitam chandobhirvividhai pratak brahma sutra padaishchaiva hetumadbhirvinishchitaihi.
Rishibihi bahudha gitam vividaihi chandobihi pratak. So the rishis have sung this knowledge. What knowledge? The knowledge of Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So rishis have sung this knowledge in bahudaihi chandobihi pratak. So they have sung this in various Vedic hymns in very distinct ways. Cha vinishchitaihi hetumadbihi Brahma Sutra padaihi eva. So in Brahma Sutras also they have presented with logical reasoning, hetumadbihi, with logical reasoning, vinishchitaihi, to arrive at definite conclusions. So this profound knowledge, that is this knowledge of Kshetra and Kshetrajna, has been sung by many sages, many rishis in various Vedic hymns, and presented with logical reasoning in Brahma Sutras also. So the conclusive truth indicated in them, in all these hymns, is supported by the philosophical rigor and the logical reasoning. So the verses emphasize that the distinction between the physical body and the Atma is the fundamental conclusion of spiritual science. So the logical reasoning in these shlokas provide a foundation for those seeking to understand the Brahman.
Mahabhutanyahankarah buddhiravyaktameva cha indriyani dashaikam cha pancachendriya gocharaha icha dvesha sukham dukkam sangate chaschat chetana dhritihi etat kshetram samasena savikaramudahritam.
So I just now chanted 6th and 7th shlokas. So in these two shlokas, Lord is going to describe what are the constituents of the Kshetra, that is the physical body. Mahabhutani ahankaraha buddhihi cha. Mahabhutani, the five elements. The ahankaraha, the ego, buddhihi, intellect, avyaktam eva dasha indriyani cha. Avyaktam is the unmanifest primordial matter, and and indriyani cha. So the 10 organs, the totally dasha indriyani, the 10 organs. So the 10 organs includes the 5 for perception and 5 for action. Ekam cha. So ekam cha here refers to the mind, and indriya gocharaha, and the 5 objects of the senses, that is sound, touch, color, taste and smell. So in the 6th shloka, Lord describes what are all the constituents. Then ichcha dveshaha sukham dukkham sangataha, and also ichcha, desire, hatred, sukham dukkham, happiness and sorrow, and sangataha. So all these are in the physical body. Chetana, consciousness. Dhriti, so dhriti, tolerance. Savikaram etat kshetram samasena udahritam. So it is said that all these with their modifications as well briefly constitute the Kshetra. So in these two shlokas, the 6th and 7th shlokas, Lord Krishna describes the Kshetra or the field, that is the physical body. So it consists of the 5 elements: earth, water, air, fire and akasha or ether, and the ego and the intellect and the unmanifest element, that is the avyakta, that is in the material nature. And it also includes dasha indriyani. The dasha indriyani, 10 sense organs, that is 5 organs of perception, that is which is also called jnanendriya. So this 5 organs of perception, they help us gather knowledge from the outer world. They are the ears which is used for hearing, the skin for touching, eyes for seeing, tongue tasting and the nose for smelling. And the 5 organs of action, that is the karmendriyani. So totally dasha indriyani, 10 organs, 10 sense organs, 5 for perception and 5 for action, that is karmendriyani. So 5 karmendriyani are the voice which is for speech, hands which is for grasping or working, legs which is for walking, which is for movement basically, and the excretory organs and the reproductive organs. And the 5 objects of senses, that is sound, touch, color, taste and smell. So all these are included in the physical body. So the list serves as a comprehensive map of the material energy that makes up our human experience. These sense organs that have been listed as a part of the Kshetra, as a constituent of Kshetra, they only give us physical material experiences. They do not constitute our true identity. Within the Kshetra also reside desire, hatred, pleasure, pain, and the physical body itself, the consciousness and the willpower. So these emotional and psychological states like hatred, pleasure, desire, these also bring about some modifications in the physical body. So we must remember that these are external and they have nothing to do with the Atma.
Amanitvam madambitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham stairyamaatma vinigrahah indriyarteshu vairagyam anahankara eva cha janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshanudarshanam asakti narabishvangah putradhara grihadishu nityam cha samachittatvam ishtanishtopapatishu mayi chananya yogena bhaktiravya bicharini vivikta desha sevitvam aratirjana sansadi adhyatmanyana nityatvam tatvajnanartha darshanam yetajnanamiti proktam ajnanam yadatonyata.
So I just now chanted 8 to 12 shlokas because all these go together. So, in the previous 6th and 7th shlokas, Lord Krishna listed the various constituents of the Kshetra, that is the physical body. Now, in these 8 to 12 shlokas, Lord Krishna describes how one can navigate the Kshetra and realize the true identity, that is the Atma. Amanitvam. Amanitvam is humility. Adambitvam is pridelessness. Ahimsa we all know is non-violence. Shanti, tolerance. Arjavam, that is simplicity. Acharya upasanam, service to the spiritual guru. Shaucham, that is cleanliness. Cleanliness both internal and external cleanliness. Thairyam, steadfastness. Atma vinigraha, control of the body, mind and senses. Indriyarteshu vairagyam, dispassionate towards sensual enjoyments. Anahankaraha, free from false egoism. Janma mrityu jara vyadi, so janma, birth, mrityu, death, jara, old age, vyadi, disease. Dukkha dosha anudarshanam, so being aware of the pains and evils of the cycle of birth and death, old age, disease, dukkha dosha, sorrow, etc. And then next 10 shloka, putradhara grihadishu asaktihi. Asaktihi is being detached towards what? Putra, son, dara, spouse, grihadishu and home. So being detached towards son, wife and home. Anabhishvangaha, that is equipoised in all situations. Cha ishta anishtaha upapattishu nityam. So in all situations, that is whether faced with favorable or unfavorable situations, nityam samachit tattvam. That is samachit tattvam is being consistent, being the same when faced with ishta anishta, being that is when faced with favorable or unfavorable situations. Now 11th shloka, Mayi ananya yogena avyabhacharini bhakti, that is having unflinching, exclusing, loving devotion towards me, that is towards the Supreme Lord. Vivikta desha sevitvam, so living in sacred and holy places. Janama sansadi aratihi. Aratihi is uninterested. So Janama sansadihi, being uninterested in the company of worldly people, that is being introverted. Adhyatma jnana, now 12th shloka, Adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattvajnana arthadarshanam. So Adhyatma jnana nityatvam, nitya always seeking and aspiring for self-realization, and tattvajnana arthadarshanam, always consciously meditating in the Lord, on the Lord as the object of true knowledge. Etat jnanam yat ataha anyata ajnanam iti prokta. Iti prokta, it is said. So etat jnanam yat, so this is spoken of as true knowledge. Anyata ajnanam, everything else which is contrary to this is ignorance. So true knowledge begins with humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance and honesty, simplicity and commitment to straightforwardness. So all these are a prerequisite. A person possessing these qualities does not seek external validation and is also respectful with others. So in shloka number 8, so Lord lists all the virtues that create the internal environment needed for spirituality to take root. So in shloka number 9, Lord says that true knowledge makes us detached from the objects of senses and also makes one free of ego and the feeling of I, me in all matters. A spiritually intelligent person reflects deeply and is fully aware of the inherent miseries associated with birth, death, old age and disease. He recognizes that these are of a temporary nature and he seeks for the spiritual bliss which is external. So it's only this realism which gives him true spiritual freedom. In sloka number 10, Lord tells that spiritual wisdom, spiritual intelligence also makes one detached to home, spouse, children and makes one even-minded in both desirable and undesirable events. So what this means is that true love towards relations is there, but the possessiveness, which is the root cause of emotional turmoil, is not there. So a person becomes truly independent and happy as his happiness is not dependent on the external environment. And in shloka number 11, Lord Krishna tells that unswerving, loving devotion to the Supreme and preference for introvertedness, that is liking solitary places and having a dislike for crowd and worldly company that distracts, is another prerequisite. Now this is important because it promotes inner contemplation. The inner silence and focused devotion promotes spirituality. In shloka 12, Lord declares that constantly seeking self-realization and meditating on the Supreme as the ultimate goal is true spiritual wisdom, spiritual intelligence. All that is contrary to this is, that is having arrogance or obsession towards material things. All these are contrary to what the Lord has just described. So all this is nothing but ignorance. So one must stay focused on what Lord Krishna has described in the 8 to 12 shlokas to ensure that the mind does not wander back into delusion. So Lord Krishna explains to us that the spiritual wisdom comes only through living practice. In the opening verses of chapter 13, Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yogam, Lord Krishna introduces the distinction between the Kshetra and the Kshetrajna, that is the field and the knower of the field. And he further explains that true wisdom consists of understanding these two entities and recognizing the divine as the ultimate knower, residing within every being as Paramatma. And Lord further categorizes, he describes the field, that is the Kshetra, as a complex mix of physical elements, senses and psychological states like desire, pleasure, experiences and willpower. And to navigate the field, Krishna defines knowledge. Now, knowledge is not just information, but it is something that you practice in your day-to-day life. So, he lists a set of 20 moral and spiritual values, which includes humility, non-violence, detachment and even-mindedness. Ultimately, the Lord tells that any path or mindset that is contrary to this, that ignores these internal virtues and the distinction between matter and spirit, is nothing but ignorance.